Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Magic Academy, your math learning hub. I'm so excited to have you here for my very first video, whether you're just starting out with algebra or any level of math, or just need extra help, you're in the right place. This channel is all about making math simple, fun, and something you can feel confident about. So, what is our mission? Is to make math easy, fun, and accessible for learners of all ages. What do we offer? Clear explanations of math concepts, step by step problem solving, real world applications, interactive quizzes and challenges. And why should you subscribe? Well, to boost your math skills at your own pace, learn from engaging videos and visuals, join a community of math enthusiasts, and remember, subscribe and hit the bell. Never miss an update of new lessons and tips. If you need specific help, just let us know. And I also offer Spanish math lessons and Spanish language lessons. So just let me know if you need any help on any other concept, either on math, either elementary, middle school, or high school, or if you need Spanish lesson, I can also teach that. So just let me know. And remember, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. Okay, so let's start with Algebra 1, Introduction to Algebra. So we're kicking off with this concept and we'll learn what algebra really is, understand variables and expressions, and also solve linear equations step by step. And I'll guide you through every step with clear explanations and examples you can follow. Algebra and even math, any level of math, might seem tricky at first, but I promise that with practice and the right approach, you'll get the hang of it quickly. And I'll be here to help you and every step of the way. So make sure you grab a notebook and pencil, get comfortable, and let's start solving some algebra puzzles together. And if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll never miss a new lesson. And don't hesitate to ask questions or share your thoughts in the comments below, and I'd love to hear from you. All right, so let's dive into our first lesson and unlock the mystery of algebra. Okay, so what is algebra? Well, algebra uses letters, which they're going to be called variables, to stand up unknown numbers. That's why we're going to be solving. And it also helps us solve problems where some values are missing. Okay, so that's why we use variables or letters to solve equations. And here we have an example. X plus 3 equals 7. Okay, so which one would be the variable? Remember, variables are letters. The most common ones are used X and Y, but you can also use other letters. You can use A, B, C, D, whichever letter. But the most common ones that you're going to be using are X and Y. Now, X is going to be your variable. Remember, there are the letters that we're going to be solving. And we have the 3 and the 7, which are called constants, which we're going to review also on the next slide. And this is called an equation. X plus 3 equals 7 is called an equation. Why? Because it contains the equal sign. That's why it's called equation equal sign. And it's gonna we're gonna be solving equations which are gonna have variables, constants. Okay, so that's the first part. Now, these are the key terms to know. The first one, the variables, which I explain right now, it's a letter that represents a number. We have the constants, which we have x plus 3 equals 7. Remember, the constants are just the numbers, for example, 3 and 7. Then we have an expression. It's just a combination of variables and constants. In this case, the expression is 3x plus 3. Okay, I'm going to invent this one. 3x plus 3, that would be an expression. Or for example, x plus 7, okay? Or even y plus 3. Those are expressions, okay? They're just terms that have a variable, which are the letters, and a constant. Expressions do not have an equal sign. That's the difference between an expression and an equation. An equation does have an equal sign. 3x plus 5 equals 20. This is an equation. Why? Because it has an equal sign. Now, an expression would just be if we just consider 3x plus 5. That would be an expression because it doesn't have an equal sign. So those are the key terms that you guys should always keep in mind, because you're not gonna just review this on, for example, elementary or middle school. You're gonna still be reviewing this on middle school and high school and also in college. So it's very important that you guys know what are variables, what are constants, what is an expression, and what is an equation. Okay? So let's take a look at our first linear equation. So let's solve it. We have x plus 4 equals 9. Okay, so our variable or the letter is x. Okay, remember, variable. Then we are going to have some constants, right? Which in this case, they are 4 and 9. Okay, the expression would be x plus 4, right? And the equation is x plus 4 equals 9. Okay, so let's solve this. Have x plus 4 equals 9. So whenever they're telling you to solve equations, that means that you're going to solve for the variable. We're going to solve for x because we don't know the value of x. So that's why we're solving it. So in order for me to leave x alone, or the variable, I need to isolate it. So whenever you're solving equation, you need to leave the variables on one side of the equation, which most of the time is on the left. And the constants, all the numbers without a variable, without a letter, we're going to move them to the right side. So if I have to isolate x on the left side, I have to get rid of the plus 4. I need to move it to the right side with the other constant, which is 9. So you're going to do the opposite sign. So if I have plus 4, what is the opposite of addition? Subtraction. So I'm going to do negative 4 on both sides. The objective is to cancel out the left side. And then what do I have left on the left side? X equals 9 minus 4 is 5. And I already solved this equation. Okay? That's simple. And how do you check my answer? I always recommend my students to always check your answer. How do I do that? Once you solved, that's a good thing of solving equations, that you can always check your answer. So with the original equation, that is x plus 4 equals 9, I substitute x with the answer that I just got, which is 5. 5 plus 4 equals 9. So 5 plus 4 is 9. Is 9 equal to 9? Yes, we are correct. So that means that my answer, x equals 5, is correct. So I always recommend you guys to always check your answers. Great job. So you already solved the first one. Now we're going to solve the second one. We have x minus 7 equals 10. Okay, so x is my variable. Remember, it's the letter that we're solving. Our constants, which are the numbers that don't have an x next to it, it's negative 7 and 10. Okay, so we're going to solve it. X minus 7 equals 10. We're going to leave x alone on the left side. So we have to get rid of the negative 7. I have to move it to the right side with the 10. So I look at the sign. It's negative 7. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So I do plus 7 on both sides. So let's do that. Plus 7 on both sides. And once we do that, plus 7 and plus 7. So the negative 7 plus 7 cancels out, and what we have on the left side is x. And then we add 10 plus 7 is 17. So here I already solved my equation. X equals 17. Now, I always tell my students to always check your answer. So we're going to substitute on the original equation, which is x minus 7 equals 10. We're going to substitute x with our answer that we just got, which was 17. So 17 minus 7 equals 10. And is 10 equal to 10? Yes, so we are correct. If when you check your answer, it doesn't give you an equality, so for example, if it gives you 9 equals to 10, that's not true, right? So you need to check something on the first step. Something might be wrong. You might have been adding incorrectly or dividing incorrectly, depending on the equation. Perfect, so we just solved the second example. And this one, it involved a subtraction. And the first one that we just solved, it involved an addition. And this one involved a subtraction. Okay, so let's start with the other example where we're going to be involving multiplication. So we have 5x equals 20. In this case, we don't have another term that is adding or subtracting the x. We just have 5x. Okay? What does this mean? Whenever we have a variable, which is x, and we have a coefficient, the 5 is called a coefficient. Okay? This one, the coefficients are always next to the x. Whenever they're together, that means that they're multiplying. Okay? So we have 5x equals 20. I need to isolate x. I need to leave x alone. So the 5 and the x are multiplying. What is the opposite of multiplication? Division. So that means that I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Okay, so x equals 20 divided by 5. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. So here I already solved my equation. Then the next step is to check our answers. Remember to check your answer. That is very important. So what am I going to do? I'm going to check my answer with the original equation. 5x equals 20. I'm going to substitute x with 4. So 5 times 4 equals 20. Is 20 equal to 20? Yes, so we are correct. So that means that the value of x, when we solved x, it's 4. Okay, so remember, always you have to check your answers. Okay, so here we already solved an equation involving multiplication. So let's do the next example. Okay, so we have 8x equals 64. Same thing, right? We have the coefficient 8, we have the variable x, we have the constant 64. We have to isolate the x. Okay, so in order for me to get rid of the 8, they're multiplied, so the opposite is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. So x equals 64 divided by 8, which is 8. Okay, and then I'm going to check my answer. Remember your answer, you're going to substitute it on the original equation. So 8x equals 64. The answer that I got was 8. So I'm going to substitute 8 times 8. Is 8 times 8 equals 64? Yes, so we are correct. So that means that substitution or the solving of x equals 8 is correct. Perfect. So there we already solved another example where it involved multiplication. Perfect. So great job. Now we're going to combine the knowledge of addition and multiplication. So we're going to have two terms on the left side of the equation. So let's take a look at this one. 3x plus 6 equals 15. We have two constants, right? We have the 6 and the 15, which are constants. And then we have the variable, which is x. Okay? So remember, whenever we're solving equations, the objective is for us to leave x alone, to isolate it. Okay? But I need to get rid of the 6 and I have to get rid of the 3. So which one should I get rid of first? You always get rid of the constants that are, or the numbers that are, the terms that are not next to the x. So in this case, I'm going to get rid of the 6 first. terms that are outside the x, and then I'm going to get rid of the coefficient that is next to the x, which is 3. Okay, so we have plus 6 on the left side of the equation, so the opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to do -6 on both sides. It cancels out. And then we're going to have 15 minus 6. So what do I have on the left side of the equation? I just have 3x equals 15 minus 6. It's going to be 9. Now, in order for me to isolate x, the 3 and the x are multiplying. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So x equals 9 divided by 3, and x equals 3. So that's my answer. And remember, we always have to check our answer just to make sure that we're correct. So let's check our answer. Remember, we always substitute on the original equation. So 3x plus 6 equals 15. My answer was 3. So 3 times 3 plus 6 equals 15. 3 plus 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 6 equals 15. So we are correct. This is an equality. So that means that x is equal to 3. And we're going to have an equality. Okay, so we already solved an addition and multiplication. And now we have our last problem, where we have 4x minus 5 equals 11. Remember, we have to isolate x, but first we need to get rid of the -5 and then of the coefficient 4. Okay, so -5 is subtracting, so the opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to do plus 5 on both sides, and then on the left side I'm going to have 4x equals 11 plus 5, and I have 16, and then I have to isolate x. So let's do that. The 4 and the x are multiplying. Remember, whenever you have a variable and a coefficient together, that means that they're multiplying. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So x equals 16 divided by 4 is 4. And there, already solved for x. And remember the last step, we always check our answers with the original equation. So 4x minus 5 equals 11. My answer was 4, so 4 times 4 minus 5 equals 11. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 minus 5 is 11. So that means this is an equality, and we are correct. So remember to always make sure you check your answers. Okay? And this is actually the last example. And as a summary and tips, remember to use inverse operations. That means whenever you have to undo addition and subtraction first, and then undo multiplication and division. That's why we were just reviewing with the examples, the last example that we were verifying. And then always do the same operation to both sides. So for example, if you're doing isolating -4 on both sides, that means you need to be doing it on the left and the right side of the equation. And the very important step here, to always check your answers. Okay, so use, do, and check. These are very important notes that we need, not just on the first lesson that we just reviewed for algebra, but in most math. Make sure you always check your answers. And here's a visual guide to solve a linear equation. We have here, if the variable is isolated, that means leave alone, no, then we have to undo addition and subtraction. If it is already isolated, then is the variable multiply or divided? If it is, then you have to undo the multiplication or division. isolate the variable and then check your solution. If it's not multiplied or divided, then that means that the variable is already isolated and you have to check your solution. Okay, so this is just a visual of what we just reviewed, and make sure you have this on your notes. Okay, so well, thank you so much for joining me in the first Algebra 1 lesson. I hope you feel more confident about solving simple equations now. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any future lessons. And if you have questions or want more practice problems of any content, either for math or Spanish, please make sure you drop a comment below. And I love helping you learn, and see you next time for more algebra fun. Take care.